speaking of stepmoms and a single mom, how did you find it to kind of get out there and say, "Do you know what, I don't want to spend the rest of my life by myself"? How did you begin the process? Do you use dating sites? Did you go? How did you begin? How did you mentally prepare yourself?
I was in the church, so obviously I kind of like used to pray that, you know, my in-laws would be great in-laws and things like that, you know, and just everything that could just make everything. And I keep saying I have the best mother-in-law in the world, you know, because she's just fantastic. But I wasn't interested in like doing datelines or anything like that. I just thought when he comes, isn't it, you know, and you know, that kind of thing, and that's it. I think you're just busy doing your day-to-day thing, because you never know when you're going to meet them. Could be in a supermarket, could be on the train, could be anywhere. Okay. So when it happens, it just happens.
Sure. And Lindani, you know, when you talk about, you know, having come from or being in a relationship that wasn't so good, how do you not take, if I could say, pain or those experiences into the new relationship? How do you do that, or how do you begin to do that, or can you do that?
For me, it was because when I left my marriage, okay, when the marriage didn't work, I don't want to say when I left, because I didn't leave, he left. I was just on a journey of Black African women rock. So, because I was writing a lot of things and also empowering women. At the same time, I was empowering myself. But I had to go through that healing process because I was angry. I was the typical Black angry woman. I was so angry. But my mom should say to me, "Lindani, you're a woman of faith." When you're so angry with yourself, with the situation you're in right now, you are blocking so many blessings in your life. Right now, you are in a place where Lindani is being reborn. Because for me, I was being reborn. It was now another Lindani was being born, because now I was starting this movement. How do you empower other women to become, yet you are still stuck in a place where you are so angry, you lashing out. And for me, the most turning point was when I lost the love for my children. I think depression just hit me. But I got to a point, you know, because sometimes you don't realize until you're seeing little things where cooking was like moving a mountain. Just to cook for my children, it was like you've just asked me to move a mountain. Just to bathe them, to take them to school, just to get out of bed. For me, that was just a point where I looked at these kids. They needed mommy, but mommy wasn't available. So that was like a turning point where I had to pray to forgive myself that you have also failed your marriage, but it's okay. So sometimes you need to have that point, that lone moment where you look at yourself, you look at everything around you, from what's normal to abnormal to going back to what's normal. So I had to go through that point. So for me, that was a turning point. So it was mainly forgiving, praying to forgive myself, to forgive the situation and let go and accept it. Because accepting the situation, it makes it easier for you to move on to something else. And because so many times you go into a relationship where you look at the past relationship, you're thinking, this person was emotionally he wasn't available, and communication was ground zero. Minus 0 degrees Celsius. We had no communication in the house. So now every time when I walk into a relationship, I just say, listen, if you do not have communication skills, you gotta go. Because which means I'm gonna continue going back to the same track where we're not laying our cards on the table. This is who I am. This is who we are. How can we work together as a couple? So it was just identifying those little things which I felt they just led the relationship, the marriage to. Yeah. So it's also looking at someone that they are different. People are different. We're all different. But if you're meeting someone who's willing to work with you, and you're also willing, you need to be willing as well. Because it's all about give and take. And forgiving, really, I think that was the main thing that I just thought I have to forgive. And I have to start looking at, I'm in a relationship now where I am happy because he's got his own daughter, I've got my own children. But we're also coming in with our own things where we've had to lay everything on the table. And we communicate. My issue is communication. That's where I'm coming from. But I'm not saying I'm going to bring what didn't work for me into this. It's a new start altogether, and we are okay.
Fantastic. You know, when working with mothers, I meet so many women and so many mothers who, whatever the situation, that have gone through a lot of pain. And you said something, you know, where you said you find yourself disliking or not liking your boys. For me, that's a very scary fact. And for a mother to think, no one sets out to say, I'm not gonna like my children. But sometimes because of the situation, whether it's a divorce, whether it's an abusive relationship, whether it's a relationship where the in-laws don't think much of you, and we find that a lot in some African, actually not just African, in different cultures where maybe your husband likes you, but maybe your in-laws, those around you, don't think much of you. And sometimes there is a lot of pain that mothers are going through. And what I find, and I say to mothers, and one of the main reasons why I wanted to have this conversation with mothers is to hear from real mothers and how we deal with real issues. Because if we don't deal with the pain, then our children suffer in the long run. Like you were saying, you know, finding out that you don't want to do things for your children, but every mother's almost instinct, the thing that you do as a mom is to take care of your children. But when you get to a point where you don't want to do that, that's where I believe a lot of us mothers out there need healing. And the question I want to kind of ask you, Nicola, as a mother that has been through a painful situation, as a mother that has been in an abusive relationship, as a mother that has been let down so many times, as a mother who's working as a single mom, and you know the dads out there somewhere, they're not dead, they're not disabled, they're well able, they're making money, but they're not willing to support their child. And you're seeing that on a daily basis. You know, if you have children who happen to be spitting images of their dad, you see it every single day. How do you deal with that pain? How do you come to a time or a point of healing or forgiving them so that you can continue to do your job or to continue to be a mother? How do you do that? Because I know there's mothers out there. It's one thing to say it, but tell me, how do I do it? Because I don't know how to do it. Can you just talk to us about, talk to mums about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard question to answer, and I don't think that there's a simple answer, really. I think one of the things that really struck me with my children, because it wasn't easy kind of growing up myself and having to raise children at the same time. I'm trying to raise young men and women, and at the same time I'm not even a woman myself yet. It's been very, very challenging. But one of the things that struck me was this, and it's that I have the power to impact these children in such a way that it will set them up in a great way for adult life. On the flip side of that, I also have the power to mess them up for life. And for me, that hit me very strongly, and it started off for them, and over the years has become something that I've learned is about me. But I thought, I have to get whole. I have to get whole. For me, I have to get whole for the sake of the next generation. And I'm really passionate about legacy, about leaving legacy, and not just material legacy. We're all great at thinking about things like, leaving houses and money and that sort of stuff for our children. But actually, are we going to leave self-esteem? Are we going to leave confidence? Are we going to leave, them having this sense of assurance about, actually, this is who I am. I can achieve anything. I can do anything. I'm strong. And even when I feel weak, you get what I mean? There is strength to draw on. For me, my faith has been pivotal in that journey, but I think just the magnitude and the overwhelming weight of knowing that I had the potential to mess people up for life, because mothering is extremely important. And if we do it right, who we will end up with will be fantastic. They'll make fantastic contributions to society. But if we mess up, then actually what we're going to find is that we have people who are very broken and who actually will have to go on a very hard journey themselves. And to be honest, I don't want them to have to go through some of the things I went through. So for their sake, for the sake of the next generation, we have to get hold. How you do that looks different for everybody. Lots of women can't do it by themselves. That's why we need to unite as women. We need to strengthen one another as women. Those of us who have been through journeys are in great places now need to remember that we weren't always there. And so, I guess that would be my word of advice, really, to stick together. I've been mentored by a fantastic woman of God, and I didn't want to be mentored. I didn't, because she's like my mother. I didn't want to be mothered for different issues. Someone telling me stuff and showing me actually who I am, putting a mirror up to my face and saying, this is it. I didn't like it, but it's been extremely pivotal in my life. So definitely think we need to stick together as women.
Sure. Thank you. Many times, I'm a mother of 6. I don't know if I met you, probably know by now. And one of the questions I always get asked is, how do you do it? And a time came where I thought people meant, can you tell us what you do on, when you wake up in the morning? So I would tell people my schedule or my routine. And then they'd be like, oh my God, how do you do it? Oh, I thought I just told you. But then I realized that's not what mothers or people meant. And one of the ways I'm able to have my 6 children and do empowering mothers to mother is, for me, it's a mindset. You see all of us here and we look amazing, but you know what you don't see behind the scenes, things are not always like this, made up and looking amazing, but we go through real issues. And for me, what I have found, I've had plenty of issues, but what I have made up in my mind to do, like you're saying, Nicola, is I am raising the next generation. And for me, there's one thing I believe, that if I need to model for my children what I want them to do. But children are very good imitators. I find at home, if I tell my kids to do something, they might do it. But if I show them, they will do it. I'll give you an example. When I put my makeup on, my 3-year-old calls it, what do you call it? Face painting. She goes, you're doing your face painting. And I don't tell her to do it, but because she sees me doing it, you find her in the mirror, and she's imitating what we're doing. So for me, what I do as a mother, in spite of some of the most painful things I've had to go through, I've gone through situations where I've been by myself, where I've had to be the breadwinner in the family, and trust me, taking care of 6 kids financially, it's tough. But what I've made up in my mind is that mentally, I've accepted where I am. There's a lot of times where, as mothers, sometimes you're in denial. And maybe part of our culture is because I'm from Uganda, and some of the things that they tell us before you get married, you have these bridal showers where the other moms or the other wives or aunties or they will come and tell you what to do in marriage. And one of the things I find within some cultures, the cultures where everything is hidden, don't say anything. Just show that everything is fine and nothing is wrong. But I found, living within the UK, working with young mothers, that a lot of these women are going through so many pains. And because the culture and the community they find themselves in encourages you to just put on your best and show that everything is going well, you don't deal with the real issues. So you live in denial. And your mindset and your children, because they're at home where the cameras are not there and Facebook is not there where you can add filters, they see the real you, and they deal with the concept, they deal with what they're seeing. So one of the things how I do is I have learned to accept where I am. Not to say that I'm going to stay there, but I accept, okay, this is the situation. I mean, I was hurt. I'm going to ask God to help me to forgive this person, but be able to move on for the sake of my children. So I would encourage mothers out there. This has just been a few minutes of us sharing. All of us, the conversation is something that we have started today that will continue, where we want to talk real issues that mothers are going through, issues without filters, issues without, not from a theoretical background, but from real mothers and things that they have gone through. So I hope today you've been encouraged, you've learned something. Get in touch with us, and we wish you an amazing Mother's Day. Thank you for watching.